Thanks for staying with us after this unusually kind of immature song. I don't usually choose these, but I'm trying to kind of give a sense of the variety that's in there. In this partition of songs, the 2010 partition of the SXSW 2010, we have I think over 1,000 songs, and this is one of those cases where you really should appreciate torrents because you can actually get a very large variety of types of songs, and you can always find the ones you like, even if you're interested in something for, person who likes the metal music or something to do with talking. I think we've just said something very opposite of the type of songs that Tim likes. But let me pass it over to him because I think we have some topics we want to go through in this last section of the show.
Just firstly, I want to mention something. I've kept forgetting to do this for the last couple of shows, and I was going to make a little note on Identica or Twitter. It's just a little short one, but I noticed something pop up on WordPress recently. Now, I don't know when this feature appeared, but as anybody who goes to my site knows, I use WordPress. It's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And a little feature has popped up on when you create a new article, and what it allows you to do is copy a previous article. It shows a history list, and you can copy one of your previous articles and paste it into the article that you're working on. Now, for doing the TechBytes show, I have a certain structure to the show notes. So I'll say who performed the intro music and who the special guests were and who the commentators for the day were, and obviously the detail of the show itself. And what this allows me to do is just copy the full previous show over into my new article, and I can delete the bits I don't need and re-edit it and just republish it as a completely new post. So I just want to throw that in because I don't know when it appeared, and it's a very handy feature.
I didn't realize it existed, to be honest. I used to be very active in the community since 2004, and I still actually maintain the statistics for the WordPress mailing lists and stuff. But I don't really think it's a very innovative thing. I think you could think of it as templates of sorts, and just a very crude implementation of that.
Well, I mean, the handy thing for me with using WordPress is I don't have a lot of time to dedicate to a site. So for me to get my articles out there and to have a presence on the net, it's a fantastic service, and it's completely free. And also I can use the accompanying Android application, and I've made quite a few of my posts have been on the go, as it were, with an HTC mobile. It's the Desire I use. Now, I can't stand touchscreen keyboards. I think the bane of my life, and I much prefer a solid keyboard, even if it's a BlackBerry style one. It's better than the touchscreen. But I've posted quite a few articles on the go with my HTC, and despite a few frustrations with my clumsy fingers and the screen size itself, it's worked very well. And it's a fantastic service, and like I say, it's made my net presence possible because I don't have a lot of time to dedicate to a site. So so I have to say thank you for that service. And so I digress, because now we're going to talk about the Commodore 64. I think anybody who's my age or around my age bracket will certainly remember the Commodore 64 with either love or hate. I say love if you owned one, and hate if you had one of the competitors. At the time of the Commodore 64, there were 3 8-bit computers, certainly in the UK, that were the popular 3. There was the Amstrad CPC 464, I think it was, and there was the Spectrum 48K and the 128K version, and there was a Commodore 64 and the Commodore 128K version, and it was all pretty competitive. And as we were saying earlier, there was a sense of tribalism of sorts between the machines, because you either were a Spectrum, Commodore, or Amstrad user. I still maintain the Spectrum was the best, and I'm sure a Commodore 64 user would say the opposite. But certainly the Commodore 64 was a remarkable machine and produced some absolutely fantastic software. It was the predecessor of the Commodore Amiga, which at that point was when I jumped onto the Commodore brand. And I think, Roy, you're going to start off with the article about the Commodore 64, because it certainly has some relevance for today and Linux.
Well, yeah, this is a CNN article. It doesn't mention the L word, but the fact is, we've been seeing a whole string of articles about this Commodore 64 thing. Previously, I saw it on Fox, Fox News, as they call themselves. But the fact is, this is a machine that's being sold using the brand or the trademark on the Commodore. What do you think it runs, though? It runs it runs basically Linux of a unspecified type.
I read. No, you see, I read, and I can't remember where I saw this article, because I'm sure we mentioned this in the previous show, but I'm sure I read that it was a derivative of Ubuntu, or even Ubuntu it was running. I could be wrong.
Unity, oh no, that's terrible.
I think, I mean, don't hold me to that, but I'm convinced it was Ubuntu that it was running. I'm desperately trying to find that now, see if I can pull up a link, which is one of the reasons why we should have had the video cast, because you could have seen my experiments to try and find this link. But yeah, in the meantime, while we're doing that, if you've got some information from the CNN site, anything extra,
they give just information about the hardware. I do know that the things that we currently see, although not in this case, is you could if you're, and I think we had this discussion before, I think you could install Windows if you really, really wanted to try something different, but it's not what comes with the box. So here we have a reversal of roles. You have this thing that comes just with Linux, and while I could in theory just buy a Windows copy, which very few people do, of course, most people, they don't actually buy Windows. The OEM, companies like Dell and HP, they license Windows and they pass it over to you. So, but if in this case you want Windows, you could go to the shop and pay whatever, £200 or whatever to buy Windows 7 and try and install it, and then find out that 2 cores is not quite enough to do things you want to do with it. But here again, what I like about this is is the fact that we have this really old, well-established brand coming back, and it's adopting or grabbing or kind of settling on the Linux brand. I don't really think they call themselves Linux, and perhaps they're going to use some themes to make it look like the old system of some, in some way. At the very least, things like login managers and the bootloader and things like that might actually have the branding that's appropriate for the thing you pay extra money for. Even if just to brag about the fact that you have something that's called a Commodore. I had my neighbor with a Commodore. I think I was too young at the time to actually know this machine too well, because at the time of the golden days of the Commodore, I was probably too young to actually use computers. But so this is the first thing we were going to cover. The next thing, though, I'm not sure if you've heard about it, because we haven't talked about it before. So Google's got this really interesting not sure I should call it experiment, but they have this plan of turning the computer business into a subscription one. So this isn't a new idea. There was this company called Zumbo or something like that, which was trying to sell you the idea that you will get the computer very, very cheaply, almost for free, but probably not for free, because then you just get loads of them and not actually buy more than that. So you get this machine, and basically they'll charge you £12 a month, or about $20 a month, to use all kinds of Google services. And the machine itself is going to run Linux, or GNU/Linux, or maybe it's just Linux. I'm not even sure I should say GNU/Linux, because Google doesn't exactly like GPL software. I think in their operating systems like Android, they prefer things like Apache. So they have this, it's not even a sub-notebook, so I should mention, it's being described as a laptop. So think about a screen like 15-inch or 13-inch at least. And you should be able to go into the so-called, cloud of Google and go and use their services, which will leave you not so much aware of the fact that it's running Linux underneath, but there is this ongoing discussion: is it Linux? Is it not Linux? Is it good for Linux on a desktop, or is it just going to destroy all kinds of competitors? So I wonder what you think about it, if you follow.
I mean, we've seen this type of scheme before anyway. If you put Google to one side for a second, a lot of the mobile phone providers offer a very similar service. A friend of mine just recently purchased a subscription to a mobile phone provider, a mobile internet provider. They provided me with a dongle and gave me a contract of, I think it was about 18 months. And within that package of a £30 subscription a month, he gets a free laptop, which slightly different is his to keep at the end of the contract, but it works off the same principle of renting your computer effectively.